All right, hey everyone, we're just continuing our compound interest here. So there is also a compound interest formula. You can kind of do it the way we were doing it by thinking of it as percent increases. But we can also use a formula. So our formula is A equals P times 1 plus R divided by N to the NT power. So A is your final amount. P is your principal. Which is the initial value, starting amount. R is your interest rate as a decimal. N is your number of compounds per year. So how often you're getting your interest each year. And then T is the number of years. So I will do number 5 both the way we were doing it and then also with the formula. So just so you can see the difference. So for number 5, Laura deposited $12,000 into an account that earned 8% interest. How much money will she have in 5 years if it's compounded quarterly? So we're getting 8% compounded quarterly. So the way we were doing it is we were taking that 8% that we got over the entire year, we were dividing it by 4 because we got a piece of that 4 times a year, which is 2% increase, which we then added to 100%. And so we got 102%. And we moved that decimal point 2 places left, so 1.02 is our multiplier. So our equation is y equals 12,000 times 1.02 to the x. And then again, in our problems like this, we know that x is the number of times we're getting that interest. We're leaving it in for 5 years. And there's 4 quarters in a year. So we would be putting 20 in for x. So we do y equals 12,000 times 1.02 to the 20th power. So we get y equals $17,831.37. Make sure you're rounding, because again, when I'm typing this in, make sure you round correctly. This is an 8, so that's going to bump that up to a 7. Okay, you have to do normal rules of rounding, and we're talking about 2 decimal places for money. So that's our answer. Now, if we're using the formula we just talked about, A would be our final amount, so I leave that as A. Our principal amount is 12,000. We have 1 that stays as 1. Our interest rate is a decimal. Our interest rate is 8%. As a decimal, it'd be 0.08, so go plus 0.08. And then divide by the number of compounds per year. We're getting it 4 times a year, dividing it by 4. And that's raised to the NT power. N is your number of compounds per year, which is 4. And number of years is 5. So 4 times 5 in the exponent. When we simplify this, I have 12,000. And then when I'm doing 0.08 divided by 4 and adding 1 to that, I get the same thing, 1.02. And then 4 times 5 is 20. So we get the exact same thing either way you're doing this. And then when I type that in, I get $17,831.37 again. If it does say write just an equation to represent any amount of time, just make sure you are putting an x there as opposed to a 20, kind of like what we had here. We had just an x. So if it says write an equation to model it, just put an x. And if we're trying to figure out how much we actually have is when you're putting in the numbers for the exponent. So again, feel free to use whichever way you prefer, and then you'll be working on these other examples on this page as well.